1 week left. That's Decision Day presented by AT&T. Week 34 in the books. And, it was a lot of fun. Zlatan doing what Zlatan does. He is God. 50,000 Minnesotans witnessed that. LA Galaxy rolled. Sporting Kansas City rolled, guys. This is a huge win for Peter Vermees.
Yeah, we're showing a nice save right here by both keepers, but Sporting Kansas City clearly the better team on the day.
3-0. Sporting Kansas City. They are right now in first place in the Western Conference, but they could drop. Oh, they could drop on Decision Day. We shall see what happens at that point. That's a little back. Daniel Shalaway, he's the truth.
Shalaway, he's got 10 goals on the season now. Been a revelation. Drew 2 penalty kicks in this one as well. He's given them an X factor.
Will Ferrell was happy. Then Will Ferrell wasn't quite so happy because Alphonso Davies is out here dropping back heels.
And look at this strike. I mean, this thing is dancing right there.
Pull up.
Muchie! Muchie! RSL.
Portland does it again, man.
Laid an
RSL.
egg.
What you do, bro? What you do?
That's a center back. Those are pink cleats. That's a beautiful goal.
Yeah,
this is not what Mike Pecky wanted,
goal
though.
too, man. Like, this is, again, the better team won. And credit to Portland. This is the first time in their existence they've made the playoffs 2 years in a row.
3-2
Really?
Seattle.
Yep.
Set pieces. Chad Marshall.
Side of the head.
Chad Marshall.
Yeah, you try to grab him. It's not happening.
Hey, we're
for
going
you.
to break these down, though, guys. We're going to talk about how these happen, the little things that happen off the ball.
Bobby gets
against
excited
Seattle's
about two things, set pieces and bunkers. I get excited about this!
Lucharu.
Doyle, I'm with you, man.
Make it a thing.
Costa. Can't get enough.
Oh my
Yeah, this
God.
is hold-up play. It's not bad. And there might be oh, don't let Lucho have space there. Come on, NYCFC. And hey, Montreal's
over
still
it is
alive.
Toronto.
They're still alive.
Yeah, they're still alive. I mean, they need a miracle, but they got one today, I guess. So
Their miracle always comes in the form of Piatti. He's their only hope, always.
Always. Big win for Montreal. And they're actually competing with Crew SC now because DC are in. Crew SC are not.
Kalen, Piatti scoring is not a miracle. Orlando City winning is the miracle that Montreal got today. That's cheeky.
Praise be to the soccer gods. This was big.
It is big and like no discipline from Treff or Valenzuela right there. In second half stoppage.
Atlanta's not the Supporter Shield winners just yet, but they are in the CONCACAF Champions League, so congratulations to them. A nice little goal here by Franco Escobar, but Joseph Martinez, no goals on this night. It was an own goal, actually. They got the win, and there was a little brawling going down on the Eastern Conference. Philly, New York.
This was a good game. I mean, they show the brawl, but overall, this was a good soccer game. Both teams played well. New York won, but Philly's got to leave this game feeling good and feeling like they have a chance in any playoff matchup.
Yeah, they can compete. And this one was physical, probably the most physical match of the day, too, which
this
I
had the
enjoyed.
playoff
A preview of the
Yeah,
playoff.
that'll bode well for the playoffs. Here's what happened in Week 34. DC United, Portland, they clinched a spot. Eliminated, they gone. Vancouver Whitecaps, done and dusted for 2018. Alphonso Davies
Give us a
will
little
not.
taste. Give us a little taste.
Yeah, he will not be playing in the playoffs. This is how the Eastern Conference stands. 5 X's, Montreal and Columbus fighting for that final place. We thought it would be DC United. It will not be DC United because they are absolutely reeling off wins. That is 5 straight for the fighting Ben Olsens. Crew SC, man. If you're a fan of the Black, you got some worries there. And 5 X's here. And again, it comes down to that 6th spot. Plus a little bit of seeding. Real Salt Lake fading, and they're not going to play on Decision Day. They got nothing left. LA Galaxy, meanwhile, home against Houston.
Yeah, you'll take that.
You betting against Zlatan? 'Cause
No,
I'm
you'll
not
take
betting
that
against
game
Zlatan.
if you're a Galaxy fan right now.
Is Zlatan the star or is Dom Kinnear the star right now?
Oh, good question. Good question. Welcome to MLS Match Day Central. Andrew Wiebe, Kalen Carr, Matt Doyle, Bobby Warshaw here to wrap up Week 34. We have one match day remaining in Major League Soccer. That's coming next week. Decision Day presented by AT&T, but we will wrap up everything that happened today. It was hard to keep track of. A bunch of games going on at once. Start with the East, go to the West. Immediate takeaways? What are you thinking right now? What's on your mind, Kalen?
Galaxy. I think the Galaxy, we saw this coming some weeks back where, Dom Kinnear came in and they said, is it possible that he could maybe make this great escape? And we said, if he could get 7 points. I think they have, 10 out of their last 12 points now? And the defense has only given up 2 goals in that time span as well. Zlatan has been heroic, again, gets the goal in this one. Just the simple things Dom came in and did. Oh, guess what? Alessandrini, he's not a right back. What do you know? You put him out at left wing, he can score goals. Boateng comes in. The center backs were terrible all season. They finally make the change to get 2 of the guys that are just going to roll up their sleeves and do the dirty business. That's been the difference. And Leggett and
Crazy.
Dos Santos.
Crazy day in the East that the Galaxy won over there. Unbelievable. We're starting on the East, right?
No, it's anything you want.
Oh,
Don't try to
okay.
put us in boxes, Bobby.
Okay. Here, I was about to make a Cal joke mixing up their geography, but it's got to be the Crew. Going back to the Eastern Conference, it's got to be the Columbus Crew. They were a top 3 or 4 team in MLS just a few weeks ago. All of a sudden, they might not even make the playoffs. Get out of here, man. What's going on in Columbus right now?
Well, that and NYCFC. Going straight down.
I gotta say, I thought I was Mr. Doom and Gloom. Are you taking my brand? Is that what
I was
that
just so
was?
excited for the Crew and what they were going to do this year, and all of a sudden, they might not even get.
No, they can't find the goal right now. DC United can. What they've done in the second half of this season has been remarkable. Obviously, aided by having a run of home games, and they've made the most of that to the point where, next week, if they get it done on the road in Chicago, they stand a really good chance of having another home game in the knockout round. And nobody. You're crazy if you want it. Yeah, if you want to play DC United at Audi Field right now, you're crazy.
Yeah, bring it. Lutru is going to take you down. If the playoffs started today, that's a phrase you're going to hear an awful lot of over the next week. Here it is for you. Knockout round. Ooh, out west? That's Cascadia in the knockout round. That's Seattle and Portland. Right now, Sporting Kansas City and LA in those bye spots, but that may not last. A lot at stake as far as seeding goes out west. In the East, we knew that Atlanta and the New York Red Bulls were going to be there. Of course, it all comes down to Decision Day presented by AT&T next Sunday. Pre-game coverage, 3:30 p.m. Eastern, right here, MLS Match Day Central. Jimmy Conrad will be here. So will Caleb Porter, former head coach of One Portland Timbers. And then the games start at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Let's get to the headline, and it can only be one thing, and that is DC United. You said it, Matt. This team was in last place. And they weren't just in last place. They were in last place for 15 straight weeks in the middle of the summer. And then, like Lazarus, they rose from the dead. How did they do it? How'd they do it?
I mean, first of all, it starts with Wayne Rooney, getting him to be that fulcrum in attack. He's finishing plays off, and obviously it has freed up other guys to do stuff like this. This is just an insane run.
How are they going to play soccer next week or in the playoffs with tombstones on the field? Those guys put them in the ground.
He turned them into ghosts. But, again, this was a really good defensive performance from DC United. And, getting Knaus in that defensive midfield slot and going to the 4-2-3-1 away from the 4-1-4-1, that's been just as important to what this team has become as getting Rooney has been. This is a really well-balanced team. The only, honestly, I can't even knock them. I was going to say, the only thing is, they've done all this at home, but still, when they've gone on the road during the streak, they've looked really good. They've looked really good. This is a team that can win MLS Cup.
Strong teams have good players up the spine, and bringing back Bill Hamid was big for them because he's going to be able to make a save or two when you need him. Birnbaum, Knaus, Rooney, Acosta, you look forward. That's a really strong team up the middle, and then they have nice pieces out wide with Assad and Stieber and some of these guys that can really make a difference as well. So, look, I agree. This league is really about momentum. I've been on a couple teams that have gotten hot late. If you look last couple years at Seattle Sounders, terrible the first half of the season. They get hot at the right time, go all the way to MLS Cup. DC United right in the mix to be able to be that next team in line.
And we've seen some stuff, it's not, again, it's not just having the new personnel come in and do stuff. It's them freeing up guys like Paul Arriola to play right back. And he plays it with an attacking flair that you don't see from a lot of players in this league. And that gives DC a new dimension going forward. They're a tough matchup right now. They were toying with NYCFC.
5 straight wins for DC United. We talk a lot about splits with the black and red, and usually that split is right around July 14th. That's the first game that Wayne Rooney played off the bench against the Vancouver Whitecaps. They won that game. Guess who else came off the bench in that game? Russell Knaus. He may be the difference maker for this team on the defensive side of the ball. Our own Susanna Collins caught up with Knaus after this big win.
All right, Russell, it has been a wild few months for you guys, but it's official. You have clinched your way into the Audi MLS Cup Playoffs. When you think back about what it took to get to this moment, what are some of the emotions that you're going through right now?
Yeah, it's really special. I think everyone knows it. It took a long, hard fight to get here. There was a lot of games where obviously we let points go. Beginning half of the season didn't go as planned. So we're just very thankful, very blessed to be here. And I know the guys are happy with the result we got today, but we know we're not finished. So it's got to continue on, and we'll see how it works out.
Ben Olsen had talked about the roller coaster of emotion that it can be at the end of the MLS season, and you looked at your schedule, you knew that you were going to have a pretty difficult front stretch. Knowing that you guys had to perform so well at home, how much mental confidence did that take, and how were you able to build that up?
I think a lot of the guys realized that it was going to take one game at a time. You don't want to get caught up in how many games you have to win to get to a certain point. I think the best way and the way we actually went about it is to focus one game at a time, like it's our last, like it's our playoff game. And I think we've done that up until this point, and we'll do that going into next week as well. So it was a lot of points to pick up, but we did hit.
Wayne Rooney, Lucho Acosta have been pretty special. They created a few special moments here today. From your perspective, sharing the field with them, why has that connection been so strong?
No, it's been great having them in front of me. In the last season, I got to know Lucho a little bit, and then coming in a little late to this season and having Wayne in front of me, it's special having those guys, being able to break up plays and give them the ball to do the creative stuff. It's important to have those types of players who can change game at any moment, and today they did as well.
Your final home regular season match here at Audi Field, it has been a fortress for you guys. You have been outstanding here. As you look ahead to the playoffs, why is this a DC United team that can win on the road?
We have a lot of belief. I mean, we have the players to do it. We have the right mentality right now. If we don't get home advantage, we still know we can go on the road and still pick up points. So there's a lot of confidence in the team. We got to just realize what we've done and what we've achieved to this point and use that to our advantage going forward.
Russell, congratulations. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you very much.
All right, they're on the road next week, Decision Day, presented by AT&T. They go to the Chicago Fire. That's a pretty good matchup for them, considering the 4 on the road with Wayne Rooney have been against playoff teams, some of the best teams in the league, Atlanta, New York Red Bulls. They haven't gotten a win in those games. They're in 5th right now in the Eastern Conference. If they win and Philly and New York City ahead of them lose, they could jump all the way to 3rd seed. That is incredible. Wayne Rooney, 12 goals, 7 assists. Lucho, 9 goals, 10 assists with Rooney. 10 goals, 17 assists overall. Bobby, put this into perspective for me. It's not just the attack, it's the back line. Watching this league for years, there is not a season trend that looks like this. It is completely an outlier.
Yeah, and the Lucho Acosta is a good example for this, right? Because his first couple years in the league, Lucho Acosta was average. And so often we're in a rush to say that players are good or not good enough. But the truth is that it's more complicated than that. A player can thrive or a player can sink based on the players around him, the systems he's in. And look at Lucho Acosta now. He went from being average and he gets different players around him. The team system becomes a little better integrated and he's a star. And it's true for everyone on that team. Steven Birnbaum, Russell Canals, Paul Arriola were all not as good until Wayne Rooney came, until Ben Olsen made a more complex system for them to play in. And I love seeing that. I love seeing a team setup that gets the most out of all the players on the field.
MLS Cup contender, DC United.
Yeah.
Do those two phrases go together?
Absolutely, and it's because of what I said about the momentum going. And when you're playing and you're in good form, and there's nobody in the league in better form than DC United right now, and there's no better player probably in MLS than Acosta, especially in tight spaces. It looks like he's playing small-sided at times. The only time you've seen runs like this before has maybe been from Javinko, like against the Red Bulls, where he's sort of making that amazing run. I think he's a little bit more direct, doesn't look to combine as much as Acosta does. Acosta is being able to contribute with goals and assists, I believe 9 and 10 since Wayne Rooney's arrived. So it's not just the flair and the behind the leg passes that we've seen from years past. He's actually getting results and points.
Not many results for Dome Trent and New York City FC. Record in their last 9, 1-5-3. They are trending the wrong way. All the points they got under Patrick Vieira in the beginning of the Trent era are holding them in 3rd right now, but Philly's right behind them. As I said, DC United could potentially jump them. They host the Union on Decision Day. What happened, Doyle? What happened?
Dome broke the team. He changed the way they play. They don't build from the back anymore. He brought in new players who aren't as good as the players they already had. Obviously, they had some bad luck with injuries, but it's not all injuries. Like at some point, you look at that roster and you see 25 guys who can actually play the game, and the coach isn't putting them in positions to win. Now, granted, it's not just the coach. Like Ring getting screwed into the ground like that, that's not a play. Like that was just like lazy defensive. Like he wasn't squared up. He wasn't on the balls of his feet. Like there are little things like this that are going, I guess, unremarked upon in practice that Patrick Vieira, I'm sure, was remarking upon.
Everything I just said about DC United, flip it for NYCFC. How much better did those players look under Patrick Vieira? But all of a sudden, new tactical plan, they're not as certain what to do, they don't play with as much conviction, and Alex Ring, of all people, is getting turned into the ground. But here's this point. If they were at Yankee Stadium in a playoff game, in elimination, you would still take them, right?
Absolutely.
It's at home at Yankee Stadium. But all of a sudden, if they're going on the road, you've got to say they're a huge, huge underdog.
Yeah.
Only positive you could say is Yanga Herrera returned for the last 20, 30 minutes. We've seen how important one player can be to teams. I feel like he is that important to be able to help Ring and some of these other players around him and give them a real foundation.
He's their Knaus.
Yeah.
He's their guy who is a bowling ball in central midfield, winning the ball all over the place, putting pressure on, and as we saw today, hitting that final ball. Like, he came in 5 minutes, he had his first assist since he was back. So, like, he's really, really good. They need him to be beyond that. They need him to be excellent in order to even approach what they were under Patrick Vieira.
They got to find a way to get him 90 minutes fit. He said after this game that he was exhausted at the final whistle, that was every ounce of energy that he had. We'll see what happens. His assist, it went to David Villa, and this is one of the more underreported stories of the year. David Villa is out of contract with NYCFC after this year. MLS MVP took them from bottom of the East to the top. Now they're kind of floating in the middle, and we're not sure what his fate will be next year. DC clinched their spot in the Audi 2018 MLS Cup Playoffs. The other team to do so today, the Portland Timbers, hosting RSL. This was more of the same from what we saw a week ago when the Timbers went to RSL and won 4-1. This one's 3-0. Larry Smabialo, we're trying to get him on the phone right now, but ooh.
It's a
Wear
nice,
the pink cleats for this one.
Again, it's a nice finish, and he deserves to wear the showy cleats if you're going to finish the ball like this. But the RSL entire team fell asleep on a quick free kick, and that can't happen. If you're tuned
Watch
in,
Diego
that
Schrock.
can't happen. And
Beep,
this-
beep.
Yeah, spot shot on
Beep,
that.
beep.
Yeah, it was. I mean, that whole goal is just beautiful, and I'm fighting for Jeremy Abovisi to get a secondary assist on this one because his strength and the vision to put Blanco through on the run.
Oh, that's a second assist.
I asked you guys before the game, should Mike Petke keep the same group of young players he played against New England instead of putting the stars and the starters back in? You scoffed at it. You said, oh, it's just New England. Put Severino, put Rusnak back in.
You know what?
I'll give you a chance to take that back,
it's
guys.
because we read your column this week where your lead was literally, if the stars are back, you have to play the stars. So we read you, and now you're trying to have it both ways on the show, Bobby.
No, I said
Which personality is this, Sybil?
I expect Petke to put the stars back in, but I would have kept the other guys in. I would have played the hot hand with the confidence, and these guys had just gotten smacked 4-1.
Yeah.
This wasn't unexpected. They had just been crushed by the same Portland team.
All right, the Timbers. This is what we want from them all year. We've got it in fits and starts. You had that big streak without a loss. That was good. Then they kind of flubbed it a little bit as they pushed into the playoffs. Now it feels a little better, but those are 6 points built on the back of 2 wins against RSL. What we saw in this game, does it translate against teams that aren't RSL?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, these weren't just wins; these were convincing wins. 7-1, and if this was a 2-leg series, and 2 teams playing for their lives at this point in the season. So, whether it was set pieces, I think Sebastian Blanco has been tremendous. Polo looks like he's come to life as well late in the season. So, I think this team's really on a hot streak right now. They got to take a lot of confidence.
They've done well since the switch to the 4-2-3-1. It puts Guzman and Chara side by side in central midfield and allows Chara to get forward on what we saw today, but still be a central defensive presence. And I think they were missing that for a couple months. That's the big one, but I still question this team's ability to go out and do this against a team that's not going to throw both fullbacks so far forward. And if you look at the highlights from this game today, both Herrera on the left side and Lennon on the right were just bombing up the flanks all day long for RSL. So anytime there was a turnover, the counterattack was on, and Portland took advantage of that. Well, they're not going to get that next week at Vancouver, and teams are going to scout them ahead of the playoffs. If they're playing Seattle in the first round of the playoffs, Seattle's not going to do that.
You say that, but we were saying that for 15 games when they went on their unbeaten run in the middle of the season. They did the same thing, and it was a different formation, but it was basically the same setup. It was defend the deep middle parts of the field, the dangerous zones that other teams trying to attack, win the ball and hit them on the counter. And we said week after week, somebody's going to figure it out, and nobody did. Portland are a good but not great team, and if you play great against them, you will beat them, but you have to play great, and if you don't, Portland will beat you. It's that simple.
So next week, Portland, they're definitely in action. They're going to be visiting Vancouver. It's a little bit up for debate as to how they should handle that game because the odds of them moving up the standings, getting better seating, are pretty low. So we'll see how Gio Savarese handles that. Meanwhile, RSL and Mike Petke, well, they're doing exactly what we're going to be doing. which is sitting here on our couches at Red Bull Arena, wherever the four of us end up, watching soccer, not playing soccer, because their regular season is over. That's it. It's 49 points. 34 games played. They're the only team that are done. How worried should they be, and how terrible is next Sunday going to be for these guys?
It's going to be it's not just next Sunday. It's going to be a long week of training, because they're going to be training throughout the week, knowing that they just have to sit back and watch the next week, and they're going to rue their chances in the last couple weeks that they haven't taken. So this is going to be tough for them.
I just want to say, how much do we all have to pitch in to get a live cam of Mike Petke during that game? Just one straight on his face to get his reaction during that
I'll take the
game.
whole team. Like, when they announce NCAA tournament burst, you get the whole team in one room. I think RSL's got to pack it into an auditorium. We get all the angles we want, maybe even slow-mo, certainly audio. I need the audio.
I mean, they got to change the theme song for the week. It's got to be Dolly Dynamo this week, because I mean, they need Houston to go into Carson and get themselves a result. And if they don't, then that's it, and it's nothing but
and you need UConn to win a football championship. Same thing.
We all need a lot.
Same thing.
We all need a lot of things. Let's get to the reason why they are a little bit nervous right now. That's because the LA Galaxy went to Minnesota in front of 50,000 Minnesotans who claimed they weren't there for Zlatan, but I don't know about that. Right now, RSL, well, they're waiting at the pearly gates. God is Zlatan, and I don't think he wants to let them through. 3-1 LA in this one. You might want to mark
Unbelievable how
that guy at the back post.
Yeah.
Be a good idea.
His hips aren't open. He doesn't have touch contact.
Did he just say
on
this is
Zlatan.
my house?
I think he said you came from me. It wasn't just that, because he had almost the assist through to there, and then he also had the ball through.
What a ball that is from Sebastian Lletget. This was Lletget's best game in a year and a half since he had that injury in World Cup qualifying in early 2017. With him playing the way he's been playing, and Zlatan and Alessandrini doing stuff like this, I'm with Bobby, man. There's no way the Galaxy are losing next week.
Sebastian Lletget, you were to play a U.S. men's national team game of meaning in the next month, he's got to be in that team, man.
I agree.
Badri Husidic. I would say he has moves, but he doesn't. Those were hideous. That was
come on,
terrible.
those are
That
right.
was terrible. Hey, here's something you probably didn't know. Guess who has a negative goal differential and a positive goal differential now? RSL have a negative one. The Galaxy have a positive one after being one of the worst defenses in Major League Soccer all year long. Here's where it stands for LA. We said it. They need a win. They need a win. The first tiebreaker is wins, then it goes to goal differential. I don't know. At this point, a lot of things are going to work for them to get in.
You can mark this down. The Galaxy are going to be in the
You guaranteeing this?
Yes, they will be. They will be in the playoffs. And picking Houston to lose against the Galaxy is a painful one for me, especially. But the way the Galaxy have played, the way Dom has this team organized, and look, they did this on 50,000 on the road. Yes, Minnesota United haven't had the best season, especially defensively.
Understatement.
But they went on the road to Sporting Kansas City. This team has been playing very well throughout, so they've got to be in the playoffs. I think they've actually got a good shot to go far in.
And like you said, they've outscored all comers 10-2 over the last 4 weeks. They've taken 10 of the possible 12 points. It hasn't always been pretty, but it's very recognizably Kinnear. It's just a rock solid, simple 4-4-2. Everybody get your man, press up when there's a turnover, and when you have a chance to feed the creative players, feed them and let them do their stuff and don't get overextended. And it's a simple recipe, but it's effective.
At what point next week, if the Galaxy win or if they're ahead, do the folks in Carson start saying MVP? A la Kobe, a la LeBron James at the free throw line in LA. I mean, at this point, you're giving me the weird look, Bobby.
I don't get it.
22 goals, 10 assists. He arrived late. He's got iconic moments. Joseph hasn't been doing anything.
I remember, let me ask you a question. In March, did you have the LA Galaxy in the playoffs, yes or no?
Oh,
yes,
man.
yes,
we are
yes.
relitigating all of
No,
Bobby's
the
old
point is,
problems.
I don't understand how you're going to tell me that everyone at this table had the LA Galaxy in the playoffs, they signed Zlatan, and they're basically on the verge of not making it, or they're barely going to make it in. He didn't make them better than anticipated. How do you win the MVP when your team signs you and you don't actually exceed expectations? I love Zlatan. He's amazing. Get the MVP talk out of here.
You had David Accam as MVP, so you're not an expert.
I didn't know he was coming. I didn't know he was coming to the season with a sports hernia.
So
I want that pick back.
Okay. So who would you pick? You would pick Almirón, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Have they exceeded expectations? No, they're doing exactly what everybody thought they would do.
Right, but he is.
So and if being available matters, and he's not available down the stretch for this team.
It's 2 games.
And
You're saying that Zlatan hasn't made this team better?
I'm saying this team was already supposed to make the playoffs, and they are below
terrible.
where we expected them to be.
They were bad, and then Zlatan came immediately. That first game against LAFC, he rescues them, and then goes on to continue to score 24 goals in so many games. How many of those game winners? I mean, I don't see how you could argue that he hasn't been worthy of being in the conversation of being most valuable player. I happen to pick Joseph Martinez just because, as a former striker, I can't see somebody score 30 goals and break a record and not take the MVP, especially if they win the Supporters' Shield, which I think they will. But Zlatan has been tremendous for them. I think one of the best signings in MLS history.
If they don't win the Shield, by the way, the only way I'm not voting for Joseph is if they don't win the Shield and the Galaxy do get into the playoffs and Zlatan has maybe one more goal or one more assist or something.
Hold on. Red Bulls fans, I'm representing you right now. Because if Atlanta don't win the Shield, math, carry the one, that means Red Bulls would win the Shield, and BWP, chronically overlooked as always, would be overlooked once again.
Yeah,
Am I off there?
he has more minutes than Zlatan, fewer goals, fewer assists. And in the biggest game of the year, he wasn't on the field. The Red Bulls won anyway. BWP is awesome. BWP is the best regular season forward in this league's history. I really believe that, but he's not the MVP this year. They were able to go drill Atlanta without him.
The Landon Donovan, MLS MVP. Make sure you keep his name in your mouth. He earned that title. Let's talk about the teams at the top of the West. They went head-to-head today at Toyota Stadium, National Soccer Hall of Fame in the background. Sporting Kansas City, 3-0 winners. That's their second straight win this week on the road in the Western Conference. Knocked out Vancouver in the midweek. Daniel Shalhoub. This is a bonus goal. This is his 10th goal of the year. Give that man his money.
I was hoping I would get a chance to talk a little more about him. I just think he gives them something so different where, look, he's just got this little bit of extra athleticism and pace to be able to pick up balls that maybe he even shouldn't have. You know, there's a couple people that are scrambling in the box for this one, but he's just got these quick feet to be able to set his balance and be able to get it back to the far post there. Draws 2 penalties as well. I think he's going to play a big role for them down the stretch.
Daniel Shalhoub is more of a wide forward than a winger. His best skill set is in and around the box, scoring goals. It's not getting on the ball. It's not playing through balls. It's angled runs at goal to try and be dangerous, and that really is what SKC need as well.
Diego Rossi is the other side of that with LAFC. He got a couple today, but LAFC did not get the result. We had Jillian Sakovits in Dallas covering things for us. She caught up with Daniel Shalhoub after this match.
Daniel, your goal got it all started. Can you take me through it?
Yes, Kyrie got a ball and he flicked it perfectly to Felipe. He got a 1v1 chance with the goalkeeper. I was just following up. Maybe it bounces out. It bounced out and I just tried to put it on target, and I'm super happy because that was my 10th goal of the season, and that was my goal for this season, to score that many. So I'm so glad we got this win because this was huge, and we are first place, so I'm super happy about that.
You mentioned it being a huge win. What allowed you guys to come in and get this type of result here in Dallas today? What was the difference?
Well, they were good in the first half, and I think we were very disciplined, and the way we defended, and we were just waiting for our chances, and you know, they tried to take our head away with fouls and stuff like that, but we kept our composure, and I think that's very important. That shows that we are ready to win this title, and this game showed it.
The next game is LAFC. What does this team need to do on decision day?
Well, I think it's amazing that we finished the season at home, and the fans are going to be with us, and I cannot imagine losing that game, but we have to focus on it because LAFC is a great team, and we have to make sure we are finishing first.
Daniel, thanks so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Daniel Shalhoub cannot imagine losing that game. Sporting Kansas City fans cannot imagine being in the knockout round once again. They could still drop, folks. This is not guaranteed, but Peter Vermees seems to have found something and some partnerships up top. Bobby, take us through it.
Yeah, what was the question we asked before the game? Who should start at striker for SKC, Kyrie Shelton or Diego Rubio? They started Kyrie Shelton today, and I want to break down why. I want to break down what Kyrie Shelton does for this team, because the question is, does Kyrie Shelton do the things that you need out of a center striker? We need to parse that, because the things you need out of a center striker are runs in behind towards the center backs, and then run straight across the near post to either get on the ball or try to drag defenders out. And it wasn't Kyrie Shelton that did that today. It was Felipe Gutierrez, but that's fine. It doesn't have to be the center striker that does those things as long as someone else does. And Kyrie Shelton and Felipe Gutierrez have built that relationship. Here we see it once again. That last one was a penalty, by the way. SKC missed, but you could still see the opportunity created. Here it happens again. Felipe Gutierrez on the ball, Kyrie Shelton checks back, and what a pass that is, but it's Felipe Gutierrez making the dangerous run into the space that Kyrie Shelton vacated. So listen, when we think about this the center striker position for SKC. It's not just about chances created by the striker. It's not just about goals or assists from the striker. It's about the whole team. And if someone else picks up those duties that a center striker often does, that's perfectly fine. And that's what we see when Kyrie Shelton starts at forward for SKC. He might drop back, but he has such a good relationship with Gutierrez at this point that Gutierrez takes that space. He takes those jobs, and Kyrie Shelton fills in elsewhere, guys. Textbook performance from Shelton and Gutierrez as a center striker attacking mid-combo today.
It's become undeniable that they're a better team when Shelton is out there as the center forward. Even though he doesn't produce, he's not a goal scorer at all. But he does so many other things well, whether it be checking in to receive the ball and drag defenders with him. He's a really, really good passer. He makes hard runs. He's one of the best defensive forwards in the league. There is the argument. I mean, look, Rubio's a better goal scorer. He's showed that this year. But there is the argument that Bobby's making, and I'm kind of on board with, that you start Shelton and you play him 65, 70 minutes, and then you bring Rubio on to finish the job. That said, let's not forget what happened on Wednesday, where it was Rubio who played 60 minutes, and then Shelton came on, and Vancouver could not match his intensity, could not match his physicality at all. So both things work, and it's nice for Peter Vermees to have that in his bag right now.
It's kind of incredible, actually, because I remember sitting at this very table doing Extra Time Radio, and we asked the same question over and over, all the way leading up to the summer, honestly leading up to January. When are Sporting Kansas City going to get a big-time center forward? When are they going to go spin that DP slot that they said they would? They didn't do it. They traded for Christian Nemeth, and then they didn't play Christian Nemeth. They don't need him. Kyrie Shelton, Diego Rubio, Peter Vermees rolling right now with Sporting Kansas City, and Jillian Sakovits caught up with him as well after this game.
Coach, Sporting Kansas City obviously able to come in here and get a dominating result. What was the difference tonight?
I don't know if it was dominating. I appreciate that, but
the scoreline was dominating.
Yeah, it's a very difficult team to play against. Always a hard place for so many reasons. But one of the things I think we are tonight is, one is we are resilient, but I also think our work ethic on the field was a difference in the game. We had a different gear, and I think that was a difference.
Looking to decision day now, what's the message to this team? Still looking to lock up that top spot and evade the knockout round?
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing how close everything is, and it all comes down to the last game, but we obviously did ourselves a favor in the last two games, getting 2 wins, both on the road, and now we get to go back home, and so hopefully we can put another performance together and put ourselves in a really good position going into the playoffs.
Sporting Kansas City now has a record 63 goals on the season. What's allowed this attack to be so lethal this season?
Players. You know, it's amazing. You could spend so much time shooting exercises and pattern play and everything, but at the end of the day, you have to have quality individuals to be able to stick the ball in the back of the net. And we're really fortunate we have those guys, and they're bought into what we do.
Coach, thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Guys.
National Soccer Hall of Fame in the background. I got to get out to Frisco. Looks pretty sweet. Decision Day presented by AT&T. Going down next Sunday, 1 week from now, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. That's the pregame show. Jimmy Conrad is here. You know him, Caleb Porter. Yeah, you're familiar with him as well, former head coach of the Timbers. They'll help us break it all down. 11 games going down simultaneously at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Sporting Kansas City hosting LAFC. That is one of the best matches of the day by far. 2 teams competing for a bye. 2 teams competing potentially for the number 1 spot in the Western Conference. Dallas visit Colorado. They do so on the heels of a 3-0 loss to their direct competitor. Is there reason to be concerned right now if you're Oscar Pareja?
Poor finishing. Baji had a chance, Ziegler missed the penalty, and Arudi had a bunch of chances. Now, part of that is Tim Melia. You should mention he was amazing.
Yeah, he was a monster.
But we talked about doing it by committee and not having a big striker to do it. Well, Sporting Kansas City shows how it works, and FC Dallas is showing how it doesn't. They haven't been able to find reliable goals.
They have 1 goal from open play in the last 2 months. It came against Orlando City, who are the worst defensive team in MLS history.
Ever. Nobody's worse.
They've scored 1 open play goal in the last 2 months. They're 6-6-4 since the middle of the season. They're still up there because it's almost like NYCFC. Their dive hasn't been quite so pronounced because their defense is still usually really good. Obviously not the case today. But Dallas were a clear cut below Sporting Kansas City today. I think they're a clear cut below them overall, just because they can't beat you, man. They can get at you. They can make it hard to play. They can't put the ball in the net.
All right, you see it. They're cut below Sporting Kansas City and LAFC in the standings. LAFC had an opportunity today. They had a lead, too, against Vancouver, who got eliminated today. But we're basically already out on math. Diego Rossi got things started. Will Ferrell loved what he was seeing. Let's go. LAFC up 2-0. It feels good when you're winning 2-0.
I can't take
You and your buddy in the
serious.
bucket hat are just posted up. Beautiful weather.
That run from Diego Rossi wide to in. He does this so often. As far as I'm concerned, if you're a defense that lets Diego Rossi run between your defenders like that, you should all be fined. Everyone should get a fine after the game.
Ooh, this was nice. Didn't go in though, Carlos. You needed that one. Would eventually be a draw here. And again, it's Diego Rossi, and now you look at the season for him. I believe it is 12 goals and 9 assists in his first year in Major League Soccer. That is money well spent by Bob Bradley and John Thorrington.
But Weeby, they're up 2 goals in the first 15 minutes at home, and they don't take 3 points from this game.
Vinny Feilhaber he just tried to keep up with a man half his age.
Well, yeah, a lot of people have had that happen from Davies, but this has been the problem for LAFC is they haven't been able to hold on to leads. It's been something that's plagued them throughout the entire season, dating back to El Tráfico and away in Atlanta and even at home. And so that's something that worries because goal difference matters in the playoffs. So you may feel like you're in a good spot, but it's a two-leg series. You think you're in a good lead. You have to be able to close out games at home.
Yeah, and they haven't done it, and you're absolutely right that this is the concern. I mean, you see the numbers. They're still one of the best teams in the West, but they should have won that game today, and we should be talking about them as the best team in the West, and we're not because for whatever reason, they're just a little bit fragile when they go up a goal or two.
It's a little Jekyll and Hyde, Bobby. What do you attribute that to?
I don't know what to attribute to. I wish I had a good answer for
I mean, I feel like if Bob Bradley knew, they probably wouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I
have
don't
drew
know.
this game.
I wish I had a good answer, but if you knew the answer, you would fix it.
Vancouver, meanwhile, their season is over. They got the E next to their name. Before we keep moving on, I want to do something we've done on Extra Time Radio, which is the exit interview for the Vancouver Whitecaps. It pains me personally that we will not see Alphonso Davies in a playoff match this year.
Yeah.
They made it last year. That was fine. They kind of fell on their faces. But we won't see one of the best young players in the history of this league in his breakout season play in the playoffs. That makes me sad.
It does, and he was. I mean, obviously, the big silver lining of this year for Vancouver was the play of Alphonso Davies. He played a lot of the season at a best 11 caliber. He certainly played today at a best 11 caliber. I mean, his ability to make plays on both sides of the ball, it's why Bayern Munich paid $15 million for him.
Let's get something straight. It wasn't a silver lining. It was a gold lining.
Yeah.
It was a very, very nice quality gold lining.
Yeah, it was. And look, they're going to have a lot of money to spend this offseason. I expect there to be a pretty significant roster turnover, given how many guys they brought in who underperformed, given how much they need to reinforce the defense, given that there's going to be a new coach who's probably going to want some of his own guys in there. So it's a really uncertain offseason, but the best thing to take away from this is we can produce players like Alphonso Davies. If you have guys like that coming out of your academy, and now granted, Davies is a special case, but they did a lot of stuff right with him. If you have guys like that coming out of your academy, it says you have something to build upon. So they have to invest their resources in creating more of that, creating that talent pipeline, becoming something like the Red Bulls or the Union, getting those players into positions to succeed, because you can build stability and you can build a winning team with that.
Marc Dos Santos seems to be the guy that is going to be the next head coach. We'll see. Those are mostly rumors right now, nothing concrete, but a Canadian, a guy who knows something about youth development as well. He's been bounced around Major League Soccer to some of the best clubs in the league, kind of getting ready.
Won a title in NASL, won a title in USL as well. Like, he's basically interning for Bob Bradley right now.
He was in Kansas City before that with Peter Vermees. Yeah, he's figuring out these different approaches. Vancouver's season is over, but their Cascadia rivals, well, they keep rolling on. The Seattle Sounders know something about starting slow and finishing hot. And they had the Houston Dynamo this weekend. They got the win. Side head. Chad Marshall doesn't need to see it, just needs to get his head on it. Boink, couple headers. This is an issue. Wilmer Cabrera can't be happy with this, but in a season in which you don't make the playoffs.
Yeah, the Dynamo season's done. They have their silverware to show for it with the Open Cup and are still showing some fight to be able to try and come back late. But The scoreline was a bit misleading. This is a pretty comfortable performance for Seattle all day. And again, they show the reasons why I think they're a strong playoff team and maybe not so much regular season. It's just they're able to win games in different ways. And this one was all set pieces. When you have Ladero, who can serve one of the best balls in the league, and you have Svensson and you have Chad Marshall in the box, you have a chance in the playoffs. With all that experience, they could have got a couple more. Roldan had a good look. So Ladero looks good right now too, which bodes well for them.
Bobby, I'm going to send you to the touchscreen. In the meantime, we've got 2 straight years, Doyle, of Seattle Sounders in MLS Cup. Do they have that potential this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're actually better than they were last year, in part because they're more clearly Ladero's team than they were last year. They were trying to fit him and Dempsey into the same lineup a lot last year. It didn't quite work out at times, but the way he is the center of the orbit for everything that they do, and everybody around him seems to accept their roles. And then you have Ruidiaz up top putting the ball in the back of the net. This team, I mean, they might be Western Conference favorites.
Yeah, anybody in the playoffs, though, they got to watch out on those set pieces. Bobby, tell me what you saw today from the Sounders.
What I want to break down on this is they scored 2 corner kick goals, but it didn't happen by accident. They came from the same spot, and they knew what they were doing building into those plays. And if we look here it comes, right? I want to point out they're about to score right here. And the 2 people we have to look at are Albert Elise, who is a middle zone. Houston's got a bunch of man marking back here, and then they've got a player in the front zone and a player in the middle zone. And what SKC does is they occupy those 2 players to then attack the spot in between. We saw it there. It's the exact same thing on this one. And guys, what I really want to highlight is Christian Roldan in the middle, taking up 2 players. Christian Roldan is pinning that front zone because when Nico Ladero plays the ball just past him, Houston defenders expect the front zone to come out and win that ball, but in having Christian Roldan down there to pin him back means he can attack the ball, throws off all of the Houston players, and Nico Ladero puts the ball in the same spot both times, and all of Seattle players knew to get there. Someone can get there. Nico Ladero will deliver it. I love this. Clearly something Seattle had worked on. There's multiple moving pieces to ensure it all fits together, and guys, Seattle can now beat you in multiple ways, right? They can pass through you. They can defend well and hit you on the counter, and now they can score on set pieces.
Mark at the near post. Mark at the near post.
They're good.
Wow.
They're good.
Thank you, Bobby.
They're not
we've
just
been waiting all year for
they're
that.
the favorites in the West.
Yeah.
Really? You're gonna go that far?
All due respect to LAFC and Sporting Kansas City and FC Dallas. Seattle have won 13 of their last 15 games. They've done a lot of it at home, but they've gone on the road and did it. And like you said, Houston season's over. They've played like it since the Open Cup final. But this was Seattle going on the road to Florida and then to Texas 4 days later and getting 6 points out of those 2 games. They go home next week. They have a pretty comfortable game against San Jose. This is the best team in the West.
Is the same thing going to happen that happened last year, though, where they were a good team, but they don't have an it? They don't have, whereas almost every other top team in Major League Soccer has a specialty, an identity. The Sounders still don't. They did well throughout a weak West last year. They faced a good team, and they were blown out the water. Is it going to be the same thing this year, where they're fine cruising against these teams, but once they play a good team playing well, they're donezo?
Maybe, because I still think you can game plan against this team because so much of it goes through Ladero. Like, even more than last year, it goes through Ladero. But at the same time, that is their it, right? They are the single genius team, and not in the way that Rooney conducts everything in the attack for DC United. It's more in the way that Ladero does everything. Ladero does everything, and they trust him to do it, and why would you not at this point?
And Nico, you trust.
Bobby, you just dug your way out. You just admitted it, and then you went back, and it's hard. I know it's tempting.
Sorry.
All right, Sounders with a big win against Houston. Let's wrap up what we've seen today. Get some highlights rolling for you once again. 50,000 Minnesotans, 50,000 disappointed Minnesotans, and Zlatan. Yes, he was the star of the show, the LA Galaxy. Big winners, TCF Bank Stadium. Closing that thing down, it's Allianz Field next year. Big performances on PK stops by both goalkeepers. I want to throw a stat at you. Tim Melia, since the start of 2017, he saved 6 of 12 penalties he's faced. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. It's your boy, Daniel Shiley.
He's doing it. No, Sporting Kansas City, I think they'd probably be the other team I'd pick to go alongside Seattle as the favorite.
You guys ever wore a bedazzled bucket hat before, or is that just me? Is that just a Midwest
Wait till
thing?
after the show, my friend.
Woo! Back heel. Back heel.
Davies was awesome today. Like, he gave this Vancouver team so much, and hopefully he brings some of it to Bayern Munich. I think he's good enough.
Well, that's a statement, man.
I mean, they think he's good enough too. They spent $20 million on him.
They might think he's good enough at some point, but maybe not right away.
We'll see.
RSL were not good enough in this game. Mike Peckey's post-game quote-unquote speech, what might he have said?
A lot of four-letter words.
I was gonna say, can we say what he might have said on the show? I'm not sure we can.
Like, RSL, this is such a disappointing season for them to go into the final week and have to pray for a result from this Houston team who went on vacation a month ago. 2 years in a row, they have gotten so close and they haven't been able to get over the hump. You have to look at the season as a failure for RSL, period.
Absolutely.
It's not a failure for DC. They made the playoffs. They got that X next to their name. Before decision day, by the way, Montreal still alive. That's because Columbus Crew SC are fading fast. If they get to the playoffs, it's going to be on the back of this man, Nacho Piatti. This is what he does. He takes over games. He scores goals. This was a rivalry win and a big one. Good free kick there. That's what I call a courtesy dive. You see that in FIFA a lot.
Yeah, lost in the disappointment of Salt Lake. I mean, this is the worst result of the day, and by a long mile, because if you're Columbus Crew SC, I don't understand how this could possibly happen at this point in the season. I mean, this Orlando team has given up. They are not playing really anymore, and to concede in the 94th minute late on, now to maybe potentially even to unthink that you could not make the playoffs at this point. I mean, that is shocking.
Both penalties that Columbus gave up were so, I don't want to use the word lazy because I don't like the implications, but mentally they were so checked out and doing stuff that they didn't have to do, and it's put them in a situation where they have their final game next week at home. Granted, it's against Minnesota. They have to win that game, or they're probably not going to make the playoffs. That's brutal for a team that was cruising a couple months ago.
In and out. Here's how it rolled in 3:34. DC United, they're in. Portland Timbers, they are also in. Vancouver Whitecaps, we knew. They're officially out, though. Still in playoff purgatory. Columbus Crew SC, Montreal Impact. In the Western Conference, RSL and the LA Galaxy. Galaxy, the only team in the West that still control that fate that aren't already in. RSL are sitting back and waiting. As always, we want your questions on this show, and we've got some good ones coming through on Twitter and elsewhere. We start with this one. If the Galaxy sneak into the playoffs, can they make a legit run to Cup? I was thinking about RSL way back in the day, winning from a 6th seed. And of course, the Sounders have done a little bit of that before. Timbers, I think, were a knockout round team. I mean, this is very, very possible.
I mean, that 2015 Timbers team is very similar to what LA are doing, because Timbers were below the playoff line to start October, and they got hot the final months of the season. They snuck in, and they did what they had to do. But I can't. I mean, they're going to have to go win a knockout round on the road, and they're going to have to go win over 2 legs against a good team, and they're going to have to do that again. I just don't see it for LA.
The answer to the question is yes, they absolutely can. They're not a favorite, but they can.
I don't see them going to MLS Cup, but I think they can make a run in the playoffs. I think, especially if they play in that knockout round game, I pick them to win that just based on their form. And then home and away leg, that might get complicated depending on who they're playing. If it's against LAFC, I think they might have a legit chance of breaking them down. If it's against maybe a Seattle or a Sporting, I think it might be the end of the road.
I'm praying to the soccer gods right now, aka I'm praying to Zlatan to give me El Trafico and Cascadia in the knockout round out west. Stephen Murphy hit us up. If I'm picking an MLS Cup finalist from the Eastern Conference today, it'd be a toss-up between the Red Bulls and DC from the West, a toss-up between LAFC or Sporting Kansas City. He's asking for my thoughts. I'm asking for your thoughts.
No, Weeby, give us your thoughts, man. Come on, give it for Stephen.
My thoughts?
He wants it, yeah.
I think the Red Bulls in the playoffs. No, I'm not going to make that prediction because that is just a curse that I cannot live with. I think DC right now, if they get that home game to start it off, watch out, because they're going to get that home game the rest of the way on the 2-legged side. And I really think Sporting Kansas City right now, with the mix between defense and attack and the balance they have and the depth they have, plus the home field advantage and the experience in this scenario, both with disappointment and success, I would look to them on that side. That's me.
I like how Sporting is playing. I like that pick there. But I am going with the Red Bulls. And I think the reason is partly due to the fact that I have some serious questions about Atlanta United with the health of Miguel Almirón, Villalba, the questions around the team, and I just think they're not in great form, especially with the matchup too, because that matchup, I was at that game at Red Bull Arena and saw how Chris Armas had his team up for that match. Tactically, I think he outcoached Martino. I think they really, they're under their skin a little bit. So I think the Red Bulls are the favorites going into the playoffs. In years past, I've always thought, okay, what's the one team that you would pick? And it's always been Toronto and Seattle. The one clear pick for me, the West is a little bit up in the air, but I do think it is the Red Bulls are the team to beat in the East.
You transitioned well, because we're talking about the Red Bulls, we're talking about Atlanta United, we're talking about the Supporters' Shield. Let's hold on. Playoffs will get here. Decision day will decide who gets a piece of silverware, and that is the Shield. Right now, 1 point separate the two because they both won today. Atlanta United against the Chicago Fire. 2-1 winners for the Five Stripes. Of course, the Red Bulls got their dub as well today. Here's where it stands right now, 68-69. Nice. 21 wins each. That is a new post-shutout MLS record, and nobody's talking about it. Oh, and by the way, Atlanta have tied Toronto FC for the most points ever, Bobby.
Keelan said a few minutes ago that he had Atlanta as the favorites, and I was going to take the opposite side of that. Because going to Toronto, and Toronto has been horrid this year, but there have been moments, specifically that Atlanta United game when they played the two teams met last time, when Toronto was really good. And they still have a really talented squad. Except for Josie, this is still the team that won the treble last year compared to Red Bulls going to Orlando. So I'm going to take Red Bulls as a favorite going into this last weekend.
Yeah. By the way, Toronto FC, they will want to keep them from getting any points.
Yeah,
right. They want to hold on to that tie for that record.
They do. That said, they're not going to get Orlando City to get a result in New York. So Atlanta need to win next week. They, as Kalen said, they haven't been that great. Now, granted, they got a win today. They were the better team, but it hasn't been the irresistible force that we saw out of Atlanta a couple months ago when they were going well. And it's not just missing Miguel Almirón and Tito Villalba. It's like something just has gone a little bit flat down the stretch here.
Joseph's not been himself.
Nope.
I think that's pretty clear to anybody who's watching these games. You see some of these chances and you're like, oh man, he finishes these. He finishes them. He has 2 or 3 goals in this game if it's played in, let's say, June, July, August.
He's forcing it a little bit. He wants, he always wants to score, but he wants it so desperately that he seems to be forcing the issue. And then at times he looks a little bit indecisive, which is very strange for him. It's uncharacteristic.
Extra touches where he doesn't need them.
Or sometimes he has a little bit extra touch where he could take it. But the one-on-one with the keeper as well, it just doesn't look confident right now. But it only takes one. I'm not betting against a guy like Joseph Martinez.
Can I ask you this? Will he be there next year for this? CONCACAF Champions League 2019, they qualified. By virtue of this win, they are into the competition. Just 1 spot left for the MLS Cup champion.
Yes.
Yeah, I think Joseph will be. I don't think Almirón will be, though.
Tata, probably not as well.
I hope they all are. I have no idea, but I hope that. It'd be awesome to see them.
That's going to be fun, though. Atlanta United in the Champions League, maybe 70,000 fans to take on a Mexican side. Should be a whole lot of fun. Here is the tweet about Miguel Almirón that I've been thinking about for a while here from Felipe. Without Almirón on the field, Atlanta has lost their customary decisive intent to attack. The attack today has been much more methodical and at times slow and tepid. A reminder for you Five Stripe fans. I know you've been pretty high all year long, but you beat the Chicago Fire on an own goal today. On an own goal.
Bad own goal.
Don't be too proud of that. Don't be too proud of that. Bobby, help us understand what they're missing without Miguel.
Yeah, let's break down what we saw. And let's start right here, because before the game, I said the biggest thing Miguel Almirón offers, specifically, aside just from being a great player, is he's incredibly good on the counter. When he picks the ball up, he goes at high speeds, under control, he makes good decisions. And what it does, it turns Atlanta United into this team that you always have to be horrified of. You can be in the box, about to score on them, and all of a sudden Miguel Almirón gets on the ball, and it's in the back of your own net. Here we see Julian Gressel, who basically kind of played Almirón's role today. And what we usually would have seen there is Almirón taking that space, running by the defender, and all of a sudden going 3v2. It didn't happen. Julian Gressel didn't have the pace to get by that first defender, and the attack just kind of sputtered. And what that meant was that Atlanta United just couldn't play as fast. They couldn't get out on the break, and instead they had to slow the game down. They had more possession today than they've really had all year, and they tried to build through that possession more, opposed to waiting, getting the ball and hitting teams on the counter. And this is what we saw. It was basically a 4-1-4-1 with 2 center backs that were here, Eric Rometti dropping between them as a single pivot, and then all of these attackers just kind of going wherever they wanted. Andrew Carlton, Ezekiel Barco, Julian Gressel, all could float around the midfield and try and get on the ball, and it created nice possession. But going back to what Felipe said, guys, it was just slow at times. Here we see this. This is not the Atlanta we're used to seeing. Yes, it's decent possession and it's fine, but it's just not who they are. It's not the core of their identity. And you couldn't watch this game and not say, this team's all right, but they're not quite as dangerous as they were with Almirón, and I'm not sure how they replace that.
November 4th, that is the day to mark down. That is the first game that Atlanta United will play in the postseason. I don't know whether he's going to be okay by then. Only Atlanta United's doctors and Miguel Almirón probably know that. If he's not okay, how does that affect their playoff standing, which would have been favorites just a few weeks ago?
They're not favorites without. I think if Miguel Almirón isn't healthy, like Atlanta can lose to anybody. I'm not saying they're definitely going to lose in the first round if he doesn't play, but like they could lose to anyone. If he is healthy, I think only the Red Bulls are arguably better than them.
Yeah, they lost to the Red Bulls with him healthy.
Yeah.
And without him, Bobby, I think you made a great point up there. It was a little stagnant, and sometimes, he's able to pick off balls and create chances out of nothing through his defensive effort, but also able to stretch the field. And Josef Martinez likes to stay central, but it opens up space for Almirón to be able to get into the gaps. There was just none of that happening today. Villalba's got a little bit of that ruthlessness and trying to go for goal that Barco just doesn't have in his personality yet. It just didn't look the same.
And he was out today too. Got to ask some questions about what's going on. Tata Martino, very public or not public, I don't know how you define these things. He's not saying much about the negotiations, but it's definitely hanging over their heads. I think at some point you have to ask the question about Greg Berhalter in Columbus as well with that U.S. national team job. The Red Bulls, though, they got the job done today. They needed to keep pace in the Supporters' Shield, going for 3 in the last 6 years. They were in Philly at Talon Energy Stadium. By the way, after this match, Alejandro Bedoya and Harris Medunjanin ripped this field. They were not happy with the surface. They're not happy with the result either. There's a post from Kaku. Eventually, though, it would be a PK for the Red Bulls that got them the victory. What'd you make of the performance from Chris Armas' men?
It was playoff hockey. This was really super physical. You've seen a little bit of it right here, a little bit of drama from both sides. It felt like a playoff game. There weren't a ton of clear chances on either side. There were a couple times where I thought Philly could have been a little bit sharper, and against a worse team, they probably would have been sharper.
And here's the PK.
Which was the right call.
Where? Show me. Tell me where. Tell me where.
Tell me
where. I still don't.
There.
No, wait. No, seriously.
His arms are up.
That's a handball these days.
Yeah, man, he put his arms up.
No,
I was skeptical too. But he put both arms up. It's like it's a volleyball set.
I don't know what a handball is anymore. I watched tonight. I saw 3 handballs called, a couple not called, and you're going to tell me that was the one that deserved to be called tonight? No.
I'll look at the other ones. Some of those deserve to be called as well. Red Bulls, Philly. What'd you learn about the Union side of things in this game? They're already in.
Look, they lost. I think there were some positives. Corey Burke was a handful. He was able to give Aaron Long a hard time at times and be able to create some hold-up play. And look, with the Red Bulls press, sometimes it can be suffocating. So to be able to have an outlet that you can play too long and can either keep possession or hold up and try and turn guys, I think Burke was able to be a really bright spot for them. But overall, some of the comments after the game around the frustrations with the field or whatever it is, every time New York Red Bulls plays against a team, there seems to be some type of complaint or frustration around them, and that's indicative of this Red Bull team and how they play. They're able to really clog up the middle and apply pressure in ways that teams just don't like.
Possible matchup between these two coming in the playoffs. We shall see. Montreal Impact are trying to get into the playoffs. They are still alive. That is thanks to Columbus Crew SC just not getting the job done against Orlando. They got the job done. This goal got called back. It was offside. Quincy Amarikwa won't be too happy about that one. He also won't be happy when he loses that bet to me. Well, it wasn't a bet. I just made a prediction. He pushed back. That's fine. Winners against Toronto, their arch rivals. But Montreal stay alive. They stay alive. That's about as much as you can say for them on this day.
Yeah, they needed a result. And remember, Toronto drilled them a couple months back. I think they won 3-0, and it wasn't that close. But Montreal kept it tight in this one, and then when they got a couple chances to go out in the counter and get the job done, they did it. Ignacio Piatti's a legend, and now they have to go on the road to New England and hope that they can get 3 points, and then hope and pray that Minnesota United will get just their second road win of the year at Columbus.
That is it's not likely. That probably isn't going to happen, but we'll see. We'll see. Crazier things have happened on decision day. I think back to last year and the yelling and Marco Arena, and please give me more of that. Crew SC went to Orlando. It just started well. It started well. It did not end well, and Greg Berhalter has to be asking some questions about his team, his setup, why they can't score goals, and what this is at the end of this game.
Here's a simple breakdown of the Columbus Crew right now. If you think about the worst positions in Major League Soccer, you might say the Los Angeles Galaxy defenders, but no, the answer is the Columbus Crew wingers. That is the biggest disappointment for a team picking a lineup every single week. They play well for the most part. They do good things. Then all of a sudden they get an opportunity through their wingers and the ball's going into row Z, and it happens like clockwork.
There was no Justin Miram in this game. This was a pretty incredible dance from Yoshi Yotun. I'm not sure I would have busted that out with an E next to my name.
Yeah.
I mean, look, you take every positive moment where you can.
Yeah.
There's no doubt
and there
about that.
haven't been a lot of them. I mean, this is just their second win since beginning of May, maybe?
Fine, you know what? I take all that back.
Yeah.
Second win since the beginning. You do whatever you want to do. You win a game, you do anything you want to do. Do or die in decision day. These two teams. 2 points separate them. Wins is the first tiebreaker. Goals differential is after that, and then goals 4. So hey, they could be even on wins right now. The crazy thing is Columbus Crew SC is 1 win behind. Attribute that to all the draws that they've gotten and all the losses that Montreal Impact suffered. Justin Miram did not play. He did not play because as part of the deal with the trade between Orlando City and Crew SC, he was not allowed to play against his former club, Orlando City. He was, by all reports, gutted about that development. Crew SC, as they look forward to the playoffs, as they look forward to next week, because they're not in the playoffs yet, what's their prognosis? How does Greg Berhalter fix it? He can't get new wingers.
Well, we should point out for Justin Miram, that happens in Europe fairly often. A player gets loaned to a new club, he gets transferred to a new club, and it's in the agreement, the purchasing agreement, that the player can't play against that former team. So that's something we do see. It's not just a weird.
It's not unusual, no.
Yeah.
But this looked like a little bit of just an international break hangover in some ways, where guys had gone away and come back and just were playing on the road and not in a great environment against a team you'd expect to get 3 points. They get the nice set piece from Pipa and then just kind of let their foot off the pedal. Those mental mistakes where it's really margins, because both of those plays that they gave up penalties were mental errors where your mind just sort of lets go for a little bit and you relax. And you can't relax at this time against whatever opponent, especially after a little bit of a break. And you could see Zach Steffen afterwards realizing what had slipped away from them in the moment. And so, look, they've got 1 week to get this right because not only, even if the results go their way and they get in the playoffs, they have to get a good result on decision day to get some good momentum back into the team because it can be over before you know it.
They've been good in the playoffs, too. They've gotten big results. You think back to last year against Atlanta, they pushed and pushed and pushed. Couldn't quite get to MLS Cup. All right, we're at the back end of the show. It's my favorite time of the show. It's when we go through the best plays of the night. And Kaylin, you're going to get us started. So these are the skills of Week 34 through the eyes of Kaylin Carr.
Love it. Thank you, Evie, for the kind introduction. We're starting in with Katai. Slick little move here.
Ooh.
I mean, he just never looks rushed. Always able to find a little bit of a gap.
Talented.
Great signing. They need more of him for Chicago. And then this is how you play out of pressure here. Oh, excuse me, little step up. A very complicated way of keeping possession, but Matarrita shows his quality here.
Love the touch backwards.
Yeah.
Just got the sombrero. I'm going to come backwards. Hold possession.
And then you got to wait a little bit for the cameras to catch up. And this is the guy who the camera was on all day. I mean, he's just waiting, and you're in trouble, and he's bringing more guys coming. SOS. And this is just what he's been able to do all day. His skills have been amazing.
Doyle,
I love good hold-up play from a target forward, and this is what Kyrie Shelton brings every time he's on the field. His ability to check into that space and bring the defense with him opens up this lane for Felipe Gutierrez, and all the Sporting Kansas City attackers know to fall forward like an avalanche when he's doing that. This right here is the slick outside of the foot through ball from Jonathan Osorio. You expect Sebastian Giovinco to finish that. Camacho looking pretty feeble trying to cut the ball out.
Yeah, I loved him just flailing his leg back there.
And then that whole sequence right there from FC Dallas. But this is FC Dallas in a nutshell. Back to front in 3 seconds. And when they have the goal gaping in front of them, they pull it wide. Fun team to watch, but they don't put the ball in the net.
I'm with Kaylin Carr. I'm more of a Don Baji on the Rapids guy than I am a Don Baji on FC Dallas. Here's your decision day presented by AT&T schedule, 4:30 p.m. Eastern next week. I mean, take your pick. There's a lot of games here, and they all have something, whether it be seeding or playoff lives. Columbus, Minnesota, must watch. Can Columbus get into the playoffs? Of course, Sporting KC, LAFC fighting for position at the top of the West. LA Galaxy Houston, I think that one's going to be the one that I tune into for sure. And Red Bulls going for the Supporters Shield while Atlanta do the same in Toronto. Should be a great week of action building up to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. Of course, 3:30 p.m. Eastern. The coverage starts right here in New York City at the MLS Studios. The games start at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. And you're going to have to figure out a way to, like, $11 this thing. I don't know how you're going to do it. I don't know what you're going to do technologically, like find some friends. I don't know. Find a way to get it done. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Send
guys,
pictures when you do.
Yes,
send
exactly. It in. You're not just looking at the stats. You're watching the games. And you can listen to Extra Time Radio to get you ready this week. The Winning 11 here, presented by AT&T, is a new thing we're doing at MLSsoccer.com. You can make your predictions as it pertains to Decision Day, all the results. And guys, you're our guinea pigs. We ran you through the paces. Doyle, you're up first. What you got? What are your predictions for this week?
Oh, I don't even remember. They asked me.
Oh,
there we go.
There you go. Refresh yourself.
I guess I picked a lot of draws, didn't I?
Picked all draws.
No, I must have picked DC United. I think I picked DC on the road.
No, they're highlighted.
Oh, they're highlighted. Okay,
yeah. It's been a long day.
Well, I'm too old to see that far away, guys.
DC, you picked DC.
I picked DC to get DC to win on the road, Dallas to win on the road because they're playing Colorado. Columbus at home, I do think they get it done. LA at home, I think they get it done. Montreal on the road, get it done. They do fall short of the playoffs.
Disappointment.
Yeah. Philadelphia, get a draw at NYCFC. Not going to be enough to get a home game in Chester, though. Let's see.
You got Atlanta United win the Supporters Shield here.
I do. I have Atlanta United going up to Toronto and getting a win. I know Toronto doesn't want that to happen on their home field, but they've been so feeble defensively this year.
Make your picks. TheWinning11.com. That's Bobby's. Excuse me, that's Doyle's. Bobby, I think you have 20/20 vision, so we shouldn't need to walk you through this.
Yeah, it's true. I don't have Doyle's old eyes.
Let's see your ballot here. What did you go with?
Let's take a look. The
highlighted ones are the ones you want, Bobby.
Oh,
you don't have to squint. Just eyes open.
The two main locks I have are, I feel very good about Minnesota going to New England and getting a win, because every time we've rolled out, or not Minnesota, Montreal. Every time we've rolled out Montreal guys, they've gotten a result. They found a way. And the other one, I don't think Atlanta gets it done. I think Toronto is going to care. I mean, if you saw the apathy that they played with against tonight, it hurt. It made me sad. I think they're going to care, and they're still a good team when they care, when that actually happens. So those are the two games that I feel the best about.
So you have the Red Bulls winning the Shield, then?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
I do.
All right. Go to thewinning11.com. Get your own ballot in. The prize, it's a pretty good one. You can go to MLS Cup. We don't know where that's going to be, so keep your schedule pretty clear from about December 6th through December 8th. It's been a great day of soccer. I had a blast with you guys. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for hanging out with us. Week 34 is in the books. Just 1 week of the regular season left. Decision Day, presented by AT&T. That goes down next Sunday. You're going to start it right here at 3:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Eastern are the games. Then it's Halloween, we're in costume, and we're doing the knockout round. It all comes fast, it all comes furious. Enjoy your Sunday, everybody. We'll see you very, very soon.